Hi and welcome back to this channel, and in this video I'm going to be talking about volunteers, how volunteers can benefit your community interest company, how you can actually benefit volunteers and help grow their work experience, and how they can help you do things like run events, do admin, do photography, media, social media, loads of different jobs for you for your social media, and that could be mutually beneficial. So in this video I'm going to be talking about some tips of where to get them from, what kind of people you should be hiring as volunteers, how volunteers can help you get grant funding, and also how you should treat your volunteers and how you should look after them and help, obviously aim to benefit them as well. So before I get into all that good stuff, please hit the subscribe button for this channel. In this channel, I cover everything to do with community interest companies, social enterprises. Even if you're a charity, this would still benefit you with a lot of the information I have here. So if you want to book a call with me, you can do that over on my website or do my course, How to Set Up CIC and Get Grant Funded in 4 months. I've also got a membership as well, so go check all of that out. So that aside, let's get into it. So volunteers. So let's start with why get volunteers. So kind of obvious really, you're starting a new CIC, you don't have much grant funding yet, there's so many jobs for you to do, and if you are a founder setting it up on your own, or maybe there's only a couple of you, to have a network of volunteers support you is going to be massively beneficial. You can't do everything, and if you try to do everything, it's obviously going to be very difficult, time consuming, you might make mistakes, you might miss things. So why not get some volunteers in? So lots of community interest companies and charities rely on volunteers. So lots of community interest companies and charities have volunteers. So where do they get them from? So here are my top tips of where to get volunteers from. First of all, you could recruit them. You could literally advertise like a job and actually recruit them. Your area may have a volunteer service. So you could look in your area and see if there's a volunteer service. For instance, here in Cornwall, there's Cornwall Volunteers. So I could just contact them and they could put list our volunteer positions on their website and to their volunteers. So that's one way, is you could look at a local organisation that already looks to recruit volunteers. Now, by recruiting them, you're going to get the right kind of people in. So one mistake that a lot of CICs make, and I've done this in the past as well, is kind of heavily rely on friends and family to help you. They tend to be your first point of call, but are they really the best kind of people? It's a real ball ache for them to have to help you. They do it because they want to support you, but you know, they're taking time out of their day, and this isn't really necessarily their thing or their passion, or they're not really getting anything else out for it. So why not get people who are actually looking for volunteer positions? There's lots of people in our community that want to be volunteers for various different reasons. It might help them with their mental health, it might help beat loneliness, it might gain them experience for their CVs, might help them in retirement, just to have a good purpose in life. So there's lots of reasons why people do genuinely want to volunteer. And there's lots of people out there that will do things like your admin, administration work. You know, they might do, they might be handy with media, so they could help you with, you know, your photography, videography. Maybe they'll take notes and minutes at meetings. Maybe they'll be a director as well. So there's lots of different roles within your CIC that volunteers could fill. So the second place I would recruit from would be schools, colleges, universities. So work experience at school level. So I've had work experience students come for like a week a year to do some work experience. So they're quite good for a whole week to do something. But if you want somebody a bit more long term, then students like sixth formers and college students usually want something for their holiday periods, so they can put something on their CVs for university. So you'd be giving them a position, you'd be giving them experience. So that's really beneficial for them. And then when you get to university students, you've got interns. So interns can be fantastic. And lots of university degrees require placements. So you'd be really helping them get a placement for what could be, I'm sure, your organisation's really interested in CIC, probably does great community projects. So it's going to look good on their CVs to be able to do that. So interns you can get for various different lengths of time, but quite commonly around 3 months is a good amount of time. You may get them to do a piece of research for you. I mean, that's a great thing to get done if you can get a research student to do something. So contact the university with that specialism. So say you want historic research done, obviously go to, you know, history department of a university. If you want media doing, obviously there's lots of arts colleges around that have media courses. And with the media courses, the great thing is they can borrow the fantastic equipment from the colleges and unis. So they can come to you and do really good quality videography and photography. Now this can really come in handy because obviously you've got a budget for that to buy that. So if you can get that free from your local college or university, you're helping the students and you're getting that stuff for free. So that's fantastic. Often it's really good quality stuff and it's, you know, really good value for you, and you can use that for, say they make a little documentary or a promo or something like that. You could use that to help you get grant funding. You could use it on your website for advertising. So it's really beneficial. Why not, whenever you're doing an event or something, just phone the local media college and see if they'll send some students. And it really helps you, because I tell you what, the amount of times I've done a project and I've done an event and I've thought I would do the photography and get the snaps, and then of course I've been so busy on the day, I've just not been able to. So why not get them in? And the third place to get volunteers from is also from your community that you're serving. So if you are, you know, you're doing maybe workshops or you're doing some benefiting activity with a certain group of people, they may finish that activity and then afterwards think, well, that was so beneficial to me, I'd love to volunteer and help that CIC. So often volunteers will naturally come through from your participants on your workshops or whatever it is your service is offering. So from the community that you're serving. Now, the fantastic thing about recruiting volunteers from the community that you're wanting to serve is that you've got then people on your staff team, because volunteers are still your staff team, who have got that lived experience of being within that community. So it really helps funders know that you're actually working with that community and you're actually helping people from that community have a say in how the organisation is run and actually take part in being staff or volunteers in that organisation. And it may be that someone goes from a participant to a volunteer and then you end up recruiting them. So that's a fantastic transition. And again, you're going to get really good quality people who've got that lived experience and are going to be passionate about what you're doing. So there's lots of benefits there. So those are my 3 tips for where to get volunteers from. So how can this benefit you on grant forms? So actually a lot of funders will like to see volunteers. They don't want organisations that just have paid staff. They love it if they can see that, again, people from the community are actually volunteering. It shows that there's a need for the service, shows that the community is passionate about whatever it is you're doing. And also it's important that the grant funders will want to see that you're looking after those volunteers. So that comes on to my next point, which is how to look after your volunteers. Now, you should always pay a volunteer's travel expenses. It should never cost them to come out and help you. So why not actually put into a grant bid volunteer costs? So it makes sure then that you are actually paying your volunteers for their travel. So volunteer costs is important. Refreshments, it's always a nice idea to make sure that they're able to access food and drink. Again, if they're doing something for you and it takes them away from shops or anything, it shouldn't be costing them to have to then go and get some lunch. So it's really nice if you can try to get those sort of refreshment costs, maybe even lunch costs covered for them. And also offer, as I said, that opportunity to gain experience for their CVs. So when you recruit, obviously, your volunteers, you'll want to have a chat with them about how, you know, what they want to benefit from it. So if they say, well, yeah, we want this for our CV, we're looking to get some kind of experience, help them do jobs in your CIC that will gain that experience so it's beneficial to them. So have a chat with them, see what they want. If it's the case they just want to help they just want to help you and they don't mind and they're not doing it for experience, then that's different. But if somebody is looking for that experience, do try to help them obtain that. Now, the next thing I will mention is make sure your volunteers are trained. They are DBS checked. If you're working with children and vulnerable people, then they'll need to be. So offer them free training and try to get, again, that covered in a grant fund. And again, that's another benefit for them, because if they can walk away from this volunteer placement with you and they've got a DBS check, they've got safeguarding training, maybe they've got first aid training or some other training, then again, that's more stuff for their CV. It's more stuff for them to take away, more experience for them. So look to see what kind of training, again, that they might like to do, and see if you can get that covered in a grant fund. And that's the kind of thing you can put on grant funding forms, and that, you know, funders really like to see that stuff and they like to fund that. So I hope that helps and gives you some ideas about where to get some volunteers from.